Yo, welcome back to Nerd Related. As promised, we are making a video today about putting together or building a gaming PC, a super budget build. My friend's son looking to play some Fortnite on PCs, normally just a console gamer. So we had some spare parts laying around, a 1050 Ti as well as a Ryzen 5 2600 processor, CPU. So we're going to be throwing that in there. And then he scrambled some money and some funds together to buy some other stuff. So we're going to go ahead and spend some time building it and do a walk through on what that looks like. So we're going to go ahead and move ahead and check that out. Follow. All right, guys, so let's get started. We have all the components here that we need. We got the 570p, which is our motherboard. I personally have this and love it. We're going to be future building here. We have our processor, which is a Ryzen 5 2600. So that's what we're going to be putting in as a CPU. This part was something that we had used before, as well as this graphics card, which is a 1050 Ti. So this is basically some parts from when I first built my first computer a while ago. So this 1050 Ti, hopefully still serviceable with the 2600 processor. Moving on, we have our Western Digital 500 gigabyte SSD card, which if you're building a computer these days, you need. Going forward, we have our thermal paste. Jimmy, shout out to Jimmy for asking. Handy dandy screwdriver, which is basically the only tool you're going to need. Some zip ties in case some of the other components don't bring it. And last but not least, this is something I bought on Amazon that's going to keep me grounded, as we want to keep as much static away from our components as possible. So I plug this into the power supply. Don't turn the power supply on, but just plug it into it. And then that keeps you grounded. And then here, moving on to the memory, we have a GeForce DDR4 3200 memory with some RGB lighting. He really wants this to be rainbow colored, so we're going to do that. And now finally, last but not least, we have the EVGA 750 80 bronze plus power supply. You want to make sure you have that 80 plus bronze. So we are going to open this up and get started. So first I'm going to ground myself here. So let's go ahead and open up the power supply so that I can ground my ankle. Some people wear this strap on the wrist. Some people wear it on the ankle. I feel like the ankle is a better place, so it's not in the way. You could also buy these power converters that you can ground yourself in the mat. You can ground yourself in the mat and you can do that. I didn't buy that though, so I just use the power supply, clamp it onto the metal cage, plug in the power supply, don't turn it on, and then just clamp, put that around your ankle. So here are some additional cables that you're probably going to need. These are all tied in. Usually out of here you will get power for your motherboard as well as for your graphics card. These are the thicker cables that are going to be coming with, and they are pre-installed into the power supply, so you can't really take those off. The rest of the modular stuff you have in the box still is peripherals, VGAs, SATA cables, and your CPU cable, which definitely will need. So let's get started and move some of the stuff over back onto the workbench. We are going to pop the motherboard out of the box, be as careful as we possibly can now that we're grounded. We'll take it out of the box. Sorry for the focus here, guys. It starts getting goofy. I have my camera mounted above me, and it's just the C920 from Logitech, so it does a whole auto zoom and kind of messes up. So in the box here, you have some additional cables. We're not going to use those right now. You'll also have some standoffs that we'll need for the SSD later, and we'll be pulling those out, and I'll show you what those look like in a couple minutes here. So now that the motherboard's out, we are going to really take a look at what we have here. So it's a little shiny, a little focusy, but um, let's start with the CPU. So we're gonna pull out our CPU. It's repurposed, so it's in a 3700X box, but we're gonna go ahead and repurpose that. Take it out of the box here and really take a look. So you have there Ryzen, and we will figure out what we want to do with that. The fan we'll leave in the box for now. We really don't want to take that out just yet. So let's pop this out of here, see what we can do. Be very careful. Don't grab it by the pins ever. You want to grab it by the edges. You don't want your skin cells on any of those pins or to damage them at all. So you're going to notice on one of the corners, you'll see a triangle that's going to signify which way to go. That triangle is going to correspond to the motherboard as well. Your motherboard's going to have a triangle or a dot depending on what it is. I'm doing AMD here. So you'll see that, you know, mark. You'll also see the mark on there. You're going to lift up the latch on the motherboard, find the latch or the mark on the motherboard, and then you're just going to line it up. You don't want to force it in. This is going to fall into place. So you really want to just put it where you think it is, and it's going to fall down and get into place there. So then you just lock it in. Once you lock it in, that's pretty much where the CPU goes. Next, we're going to install the RAM. So we're just going to take it little by little here. Let me get this open. All right, let's get it out of there. Okay, so this has RGB on it as well. The RAM's gonna go here. As you can see it, where you see the asterisk here that I'm pointing, you can see it on the pop-up here in the video as well. This is where the memory is gonna go. These are the main ports, so you wanna make sure that you put them into the main ports here for your motherboard. So once we get this pulled out of here, that's being a little difficult. All right. You're going to see a notch in the middle of the RAM. You want to line that up to the motherboard's notch as well. So you want to open up side here, that little latch that I just moved. Those latches are going to pop into place. You move them back. And once you line it up and push it in, it's going to clamp it into place. So we're going to repeat that as well for the second one. And unclamp that. Here we go. Push it in. Boom. Little bit of force, and you'll hear a click once it's in. Once the latch folds over to lock it into place, you will hear it. Let's get this put away. We're not going to need this box no more, probably ever again. This out of here. Keep the workbench as clean as we possibly can. All right. So next, this is where we're going to put our SSD. So you're going to see two slots for an SSD. The first one goes basically where the where the graphics card goes basically. So we're going to go ahead and check that out. There's another slot for another SSD, the M.2.0. Both of these are that. They're not the regular SSDs, so they're M drives. We're going to go ahead and identify those two slots so we know we're going to put it in one of those. And now we are going to find our stud as well as our little screw. This graphics card already has the stud to screw into, so that's pretty lucky. We just need to find the screw, which was in the motherboard box. So we're pulling that out here. Got that over. Let me show you what it looks like so that you can check out exactly where it goes. So let me put this away real quick first. Okay. All right. So we put that there. We're gonna come back to the SSD. Let's just go back and install the fan real quick. Shout out to Jimmy for reminding me on the thermal paste. I always have some handy. So we have that here as this is a repurposed cooler. We're going to use it. This fan has RGB as well, has some lighting on it. So we have a couple wires coming out of it already. When you install the fan, you want to make sure that the AMD logo or whatever logo you have for whatever cooling system is going to be facing the correct direction. So if you're looking at the board, the one closest to me is going to have the back edge. So you want that AMD side on that side so that it looks kind of pointing towards the back side where all the USB ports and HDMI ports are. So when you install it, you want it to look like this so that the orientation is good and symmetrical. Now, you don't always have, it doesn't matter if you don't install it this way. This is kind of like a preference thing, but I believe it's the best way that it looks. And I'm a little OCD when it comes to some of that stuff. I always line it up to make sure. Yep, so good to go there. It's clean. So we're gonna put some thermal paste on the motherboard, on the CPU here. Go ahead and dab it. I'll put a line or two to kind of really get spread here. We're gonna dab it, 2 lines, boom. I'm out. All right, you can't really see it with the lighting, guys. Sorry about that. I got some lights directly above me too, so it's kind of shiny. All right, so let's install this, and once you place it down and clamp it in, the clamps are a little weird. You have to put it at an angle, at least these AMD fans for sure. We didn't have to unscrew the arms on the bottom that are connected to the motherboard because these clamp right into it. You might have to unscrew those depending on what cooling system you're using. So you put it in sideways, clamp on the bottom side first, and then you can clamp on the top side and then move the lever. And as you can see, 30 as she goes, I can lift the entire board from there. I was looking there to see if any thermal paste might have slid out, but it looks pretty solid. So another thing we're gonna do here is figure out what we want to do with these cables at some point. I didn't want to take them off of the fan because quite frankly they're a little pain to put back in. So they're kind of little. If you do it outside before you install the fan, it's fine, but once it's in the computer, it's a little more difficult. All right, so we have those wires here. We're going to really ground ourselves again because we pull it off. But all right, let's move that. I eliminate any static. Thank God I felt when it pulled off right away. All right. So this is going to be the fan USB. It's going to go right there up on the top. So we're trying to figure out what's the best way to lay this out before we kind of put it in the case so that it looks the best that it can look. Let's try to tuck this in here. See which way we can really hide it. All right. I think I kind of know what I want to do. So it's going to go here. Right there. Plug this in right now. That way we can hide it. No need to really run it through the case because it's not that long. So that's pretty well hidden there. Should be good to go. You won't be able to see too much of it. Next two wires, one of them is a USB wire, the other is a RGB wire. So we want to make sure we know where these go to. So we're gonna figure that out, probably run it underneath the board maybe, but I don't know, it depends on how close it is to the case. So one's USB, one is RGB. We might just run those through the top of the case. So let's do the SSD now. So here we go. I'm gonna move to the SSD and we're gonna put those right here, section I showed you guys earlier. And we have the screw ready to go. Let's pop it out of here and show you how easy this is. Pretty simple, y'all. If I can put computers together, believe me, you guys can too. The assembly of it is easier, believe it or not. It's the booting up and getting everything together that's a little more annoying. We'll probably make a future video of what that looks like. Maybe even on this PC. I don't know yet. We'll see. A little more tedious, a lot more editing, timeout. So here's the screw. Boom. You have the stand-in and the screw. We're not going to need it. We're only going to need the screw because the motherboard already has where to screw it into already. All right, so here's the SSD. Very thin, very small, come a long way on hard drives here, guys. So what we want to do is we're going to put this into the slot at like a 45-degree angle. And when you do, you'll see it kind of at that angle sticking up. That's the right way. You don't want to go completely horizontal or vertical. It's at about a 40-degree angle. And then you just, once it's completely in, you push it down. It should line up with the last stud, or there's a couple there, but depending on how long it is. And then you really just put the screw in. If you needed to put the little stud in, it comes with it. You can install that as well too. But I hand tighten the screw, it's very little. And then let me just that. And then now we just are going to use my glasses repair kit and just give it a turn or two to make it tight. So let's get that. Yep, here we go. Go ahead and screw this in. It's literally like a half a turn. There we go. Tight, boom, good to go. All right, SSDs installed, CPUs installed, cooling system installed, RAM is installed. What do we have left to do? Well, let's check it out. So these wires are bothering me. I'm trying to figure out where to go. I'm pretty sure that's the way I want to run it. We can go this way too. If the board allows me to run it underneath it, that would be ideal. But some boards are really close to the case and that's not going to happen. So CPU installed, good to go. RAM installed, good to go. We have our SSD, good to go. So let's go ahead and open the case up and see what this bad boy looks like. So I don't have too much workspace for this, so I wanted to be really careful to open this up. And what it is a DIY PC. The name is the Vanguard RGB. It's actually a super spacious case. Kind of heavy and bulky, but really big. You're gonna see how much space we have in here. So opening this up, apologize for the autofocus kind of zooming in and out. So we're gonna take the panels off. Be very careful with these panels. I always take them off and put them in the box. So we're gonna go ahead and put these panels in the box so that they don't break, as they are tempered glass. Take the back panel off as well. Yeah, apologies guys, my camera just zooms in and out. My bad. I need to get a better process here. All right, so we will pull this out, boom. Put it back in the box in between the foams. All right, so this case is actually really cool as everything already came pre-cable managed, but I want to pull this out for the hard drive shell because we're going to need some stuff out of this box. This is the hardware box for the case. Every case will come with some boxes, extra screws, additional screws, some standoffs, as well as screws for the power supply, screws for the motherboard to screw into the case, and a lot of other things that spares that you might need going forward. Here's our case. As you can notice, compared to the motherboard, it's very spacious. We have your ports on the bottom there to bring things through. You also have the back end. So we're going to go ahead and first put our shield in the back. This is where the motherboard is going to basically press against all of the components on the back of the board. So your USBs, your audios, your HDMIs, all gonna basically line up and push against this shield. Just push it in until it clicks. You'll hear the click. It takes a little finagling, a little bit sometimes, but once one corner clicks, once you snap the second one in, pretty much good to go. So what we're gonna do now is install 3 additional standoffs. I feel like I'm calling that the wrong thing, but whatever. This is what I'm calling them. So we have 6 in the case right now. Here they go right here. So there's 3 on each side that I'm pointing at, but we're gonna need 3 more because the motherboard is a little bit longer than that. So we're gonna need to put these 3 additional studs in. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so we put those in. They took a little bit of muscle getting in as the hole was not expanded. So, go ahead, feel free to use some pliers or, a screwdriver and get those through the metal. It's not, as soon as they're flush, you're good to go. You don't need to go that much further. You can compare it to the rest. And then it's just a question about lining it up. You want to do it at an angle. There's a metal clip on the back there that kind of gets in the way. So once you can line up all of the studs here or the standoffs with the board and the 9 different holes that it has. Let's try that again. All right, so now we're gonna screw these in. You have 3 on the edges, 1, 2, 3 on the top. We're gonna go across. We're gonna go across, kind of like you do with the tire, so that it starts coming down evenly. Let's see. Two, 3. 4. All right, we're gonna get all 9 of those in. Get those nice and screwed in. And then now, just cross thread them. I'll make sure that it's all coming down evenly. Give it a couple turns. All right, then the middle one. And then the middle one right under the CPU there. All right, so all good to go. Let's move on. to the case. So now that that's installed, everything looks good. Everything fit where it needed to go. We are going to go ahead and move on to cable management and getting all the cables put in. We're going to push these through the top because we're going to need that. So these two are going to go off through the top and move those through. Once we put those through, then it's off to putting the power supply in and connecting all the components. So let's go ahead and move over to that now and see what we can do. All right, guys, so we are now going to be installing all the wires. We're going to run all the wires, plug in everything, power supply. Kind of cheated already. The power supply has already been installed here. So I've already installed the peripheral attachment. Wires like this here that I'm about to show you. So you're going to get wires like this. Boom. One of them is going to say peripherals. A couple of them might say, some will say VGA. Some are going to say SATA. Here goes peripheral. So a cable just like this. Already installed to the outlet or to the power supply. And then we also got the plug for the motherboard in there as well. As you're going to notice, the graphics card doesn't take any plug from the power supply, as it's very little. There's a 1050 Ti. So it's powered straight through the motherboard. It doesn't need any additional power. So we are free and clear of that cord. We can tuck it away back there. It's one of the bigger cords. Actually makes it look a lot cleaner until we upgrade and we have to use it. We're going to go ahead and put these away because we don't need them. And then first things first is I'm going to run this wire because I feel like it's a good time to do it. So I'm going to run this. So some of this stuff has to do planning, right? We got a plan. So I think the best plan for this one is going to be across here, through here, and then we're going to bring it up on this side right here. We're going to bring it up through here. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. And voila. Through here, got it through. So this is going to be plugged in. So these down here, some of these are USB ports. Sorry if you can't really notice. I'll take some pictures, kind of put it on the video as we're going. So one of these, both of these right here are USB ports. So we're going to plug it into the second one closer. So on these notches, you're going to see there are 9 connections. One of the corners is blank, doesn't have anything on it. Flat. You just match it up to the plug here. All right, so that's plugged in. We're going to tuck in the rest of this wire. All right. This next one, we're going to bring it to here. This white space right here is the RGB1 on the motherboard. So we're going to bring that to the top to try to hide it some. And then all right, and then we're going to bring it through the top here. Boom. And plug it in. Careful when you're plugging this stuff in as bending. All right, so that's plugged in. You're going to notice that's pretty hidden in general. Can't really see too much of it other than the section right here. All right, so that's that. I'm going to show you the back because this case is actually pretty cool. It's called the Vanguard RGB. And check out why it's cool, right? So we are going to the back. One of the cool things about this case is it already came with cable management. So everything's already neatly tied with zip ties. This came pre-factory, like from the factory. Everything's tied up already in a nice little neat bow. The only thing we did was add the power supply. From the power supply, we added the peripherals that I told you, and we also added the CPU plug. So we're gonna have a 4 and 4 adapter from there. We're gonna be plugging that in. You put them together. I'll show you where we plug that in at. We also had to, from here, I tried not to untie any of this at all. So we didn't untie it, we just let it go a little bit to get what we needed. So some of the things we needed gonna be all these little tiny connectors. So you have the LED plus and minus. They're all labeled very conveniently. I know you're not gonna be able to see them in the video, but I'll probably take a picture and show you guys here. You have LED plus and minus. You have the HD for the HUD LED plus and minus combined. You also have the power channel. And last but not least, you have the reset channel. So all these go together. So we're going to keep these together and we're going to feed them in a second. Back here, this is your LED hub control. Also, the USB ports on the top are connected to this as well, as you can see on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we need to power this. We need to power this somehow. So what we did was we added a peripherals cable to the power supply that I showed you guys earlier. Plugged it in right here in the front, and then we're gonna plug that bad boy to this. So we're gonna do that now so that we can hide this cable and not have to deal with it. So all right, we have that plugged in. What we're gonna do with this is we're gonna hide it. We're gonna tuck it away, this shell right here, so that it cannot be seen. But we're gonna do that towards the end because we still have to run quite a few wires through there, through that little gap. Right? So I don't know if you remembered, the CPU power is right here. So we need to run that. So I'm gonna feed this through here, probably underneath the cables. Keep it as clean as possible. Boom. And then we're just gonna sneak through and we'll plug it in shortly there. That looks pretty there. All right. Next, we have a USB 3.0. This is coming from up here. So we're gonna need to plug that in. The USB 3.0 is gonna be right here on the motherboard. I'll show you guys on the other side as well. So this and this, which is the power for the board, 24-pin adapter, these go together side by side right here. So we're gonna feed those in right now through this middle. I don't know if you guys seen this. This is where we fed the other cable earlier for the cooling system. So we're gonna push this through. Okay, and then we're gonna push this as to not take out pop off. Perfect. All right. We have that in there as well. We'll be able to tuck in some of this stuff after we plug it in on that side. Okay? So this is the RGB connection from the hub. That RGB connection is going to be on the bottom of the motherboard. Again, we're going to flip it over and I'll show you where everything is again. But we're going to feed that from the closest bottom hole into the front of the case. So what I want to do is try to get this behind as many cables as I can. And then really feed it in and pull it through. All right. Same thing we're going to do with the audio, HD audio. So the HD audio on this board is going to be on this end. This is probably the most difficult because your fingers have to fit the power supply. So we are going to do that. Feed it in. Actually, let's try to put this through. Cable management's a pain, y'all. It's one of those things, right, that it's like, well, if you don't get it right the first time, it kind of sucks in general. But you definitely don't want to be doing this later. So you might as well take your time and do it now. All right, so we got that through. The only thing really left to feed is going to be all of these cords. This is a USB plug from the top of the hub, and all the little miscellaneous powers from the case themselves. So we're going to feed that through. Let's these first. All right, so we got all those up. And if you pull them through, you'll see we'll arrange this backside in a minute. And then the only other thing left is the USB. We're going to feed that through the same hole. Hopefully get some nice little management going over there. Boom. And now we can tuck this to the front. So this video is a little different. Most of the videos I've ever seen on YouTube, people are going one step at a time. I think it's just here to pre-plan and see where everything is on the front side. Back here, boom. Feed it where it needs to go, and then all we really need to do is plug it in on the other side. So let's flip it around and start plugging these things in. All the stuff that we can anyways. All right. First thing we're going to plug in is going to be our USB 3.0 because it's small and the other one is kind of inconvenient. So that's going to go right here. Next to your RAM on this board on the X570P. USB 3.0 is the bottom plug right here, and the USB 3.0 on the case is going to be plugged. We're going to plug that in. Easy as that. Next plug we're going to plug in is a 24-pin adapter. What you want to do is try to combine it, for lack of a better term. And this plug kind of sucks. You got to like grab it and turn it, and then plug it in. So now we can feed these wires back. Nice and clean right there. Looks amazing. Wires pretty much hidden. All right, so the most difficult wires are these little ones to plug in, so we'll do those last. Next up, we have the HD audio, which we fed through on this corner, the back corner. That's going to be the first plug over here on the left side. So it doesn't have an outer black shell like the others do. It's just these little corner right here. So match them up. It's missing, like the other one, second from the top is missing. It's blanked out. So you have to really make sure you line it up. And plug it in. So that's plugged in, nice and tucked back here. Barely see it. Next up, we have this USB. We're going to feed it behind the other one so that we can really make it look nice. So these slots are USB slots right here. So you just plug it in right next to the other one. The USB sign pointing up. Be real careful to not bend it because if you do, it is wrapped. This one actually, the USB's down. All right, those are plugged in. Up here, you have your So here's your CPU plug right here. To the 4x4s that I pointed out before. And you want to plug those in. So you're going to see. All right. So here you're going to see, let's call it 12 pins. We're going to put the 4x4 on the full scale one. And another one of those things where you have to kind of like tie them, put them together, and then all them upside down. All right, so that's plugged in. And now, last but not least, we plug in all the little peripherals from the case. Actually, this is the RGB control from the back piece. We're going to plug that into this white plug right here. White plug is the RGB X570. This is RGB2. The one on the top is RGB1. So got to be real careful with this one because you don't want any of it to bend. Right? That's plugged in. Now we're going to pull it through because it's right hidden. And then lastly are the ones that are a pain. So let's make sure we have everything that we need here. We have the power LED minus and plus. I have reset channel. We have the HUD LED and have the power channel. Make sure we don't have anything else on this side that we might have missed. Doesn't look like we did. So now just have to plug them in the way that they go. And that, my friends, is an extraordinary adventure. So, all right. So the first one we are going to plug in is going to be the HD HUD. This is going to go on the bottom. The first plug's on the bottom. Be real careful not to bend these. Okay. So that one has been plugged in. Let's tuck it away. Okay. The next one we're going to do is going to be the reset. We're going to do the reset, which is this one. It's another one that's 2. That goes plugged in right next to it. Boom. All right. Next one after that is we're going to power LED plus. Okay. Hide this. Hide it, hide it, hide it. So this one comes off the same cord. You have the power plus and the minus. First one on the top left corner is the plus. Plugged in. And the second one is minus. All right, and then we're going to tuck that away. And then last but not least is the power chain. That goes right next to the plus and minus LED on the top. Boom. So that's pretty much it, guys. So as you can see, super clean. The added benefit of, I guess it's not really a benefit if you're trying to game, but because this doesn't take any power, otherwise you would have another big, thick, even thicker than this cord coming out of here, power your GPU. You can still hide it just as well, right? Coming through the same channel or even from the bottom and plugging into the top. But really clean. The wires are pretty hidden. This is a very spacious case for all kinds of stuff. Like I would put a pop here or something that would look amazing. But we'll see what that looks like. So yeah, that's a PC. We're going to put it together. We're going to turn it on and check it out shortly. Go.
those nerds!